Okay.
What's going on, everybody? Thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, interviewing the top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial. Essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top producers above and beyond everybody else in what I'd like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Jody Heffner. Jody, thanks so much. Yeah, I'm so excited for this episode. I know there's a lot of anticipation out there for everybody to really dive deep into you as a man, as a pro. Yeah, so this is going to be good, everybody. So if it's all right, let's just dive in.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So Jody, I guess let's just start with telling everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so let's see. Come from a family of 8 children, youngest of 8 kids, Midwest family.
Beautiful.
Was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the Bayview subdivision area. Moved out to Colorado when I was 12, 1972.
Wow.
We've been a musical family. My dad was, my mom and dad were both singers. My mom came from a family of 6, 5 were girls. They were like the Andrews Sisters type singers, so we used to travel around the country doing performances. My dad, he sang with Jimmy and Tommy Dorsey band here and there. He became a dentist after he got out of, he was in the Korean War and World War II.
Wow.
We moved out to Colorado because my mom and dad were here. They're stationed when it was the Army Air Force at the time. It was here in 51 through 53. They were combined. And they loved it so much, so when my oldest sister got married, and she married a professional football player, a Green Bay Packer, met him in Wisconsin.
Very cool.
And he was a quarterback for the Packers during the Vince Lombardi era, and right after Bart starred, he got traded to the Denver Broncos.
Okay.
So they came out to visit him, and 6 months later, our house was up for sale. We moved out to Colorado, and then we were a musical family, so we pursued music. I remember singing since I was 3, pretty much.
Jody, okay.
Came out here, pursuing music career, went to junior high and high school here. We ended up auditioning for some of these talent shows out in California. One happened to be the Gong Show.
Okay.
So they wanted us to come and perform, so we went and we auditioned, and then we went out to California in 75. I was 15 at the time. So we went out there and performed, and we won the Gong Show.
Wow.
And then we all came back here a month later. They called us back, said, we want you for the night version, so we went a second time. We lost the nighttime version, which was fine.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, they said, hey, you're getting all this fan mail, and we want you to come back as a guest appearance. And we were like this young, 6 of the 8 kids were doing it, and we sang an old Broadway song from the 40s and tap dance to that. I was in dance when I was younger.
Get it out.
And so after that performance with them, we opted to move out to Southern California to pursue a music career.
Okay.
So I think in my junior year, after I finished my junior year, we moved out to Los Angeles.
Wow.
And spent 15 years there in music, and did a lot of performing out there, did a lot of recording out there. Never really made it to where we wanted to be, but met a lot of people, hung out with a lot of celebrities, got to know a lot of celebrities, got to understand LA at the time. A little different now.
Right.
But then I moved back here in 1992.
Okay.
And started, didn't know this, but in a roundabout way, I was already starting to do real estate then.
Interesting. Okay, so before we jump into the real estate side, which I know everybody's really excited to get into as well, with music, is it still in your life, Jody?
Absolutely.
Okay.
absolutely. That will never go away. If I had my way, if I,
Yeah.
we may talk about this or not,
Sure.
if to go back in time, if I would love to be a performer up there. I
Wow.
like that.
Okay.
And I think that's to see people enjoy themselves, to see people, to make people happy,
Right.
things like that. I think that's really good. And that really was an adrenaline flow for me
Right.
to really do that. I really enjoyed that. I would do it differently.
Love it.
definitely.
I love it. And yeah, it's just so interesting to me because knowing that and the performer atmosphere, and it's scary for a lot of people getting in front of crowds and doing these things. And I think that, to me, alluding to your real estate career, everything that we go through in life prepares us for who we are and what we do. So
Right.
what got you into the real estate business, and what kind of took it your progression to today, Jody? I mean,
Ironically, I got my real estate license because I wanted to buy my own house and I wanted to save commission. I thought,
Yeah.
So I got my license to buy my own house.
Wow.
And with that process, I also was, we were working on a family investment, which was just right near where we're interviewing here. It was a commercial investment.
Okay.
And I felt that the representation at the time was very limited.
Oh, interesting.
And I felt like, I could have gotten in there and helped a little bit better. Like I said, I had just had my license, but we kind of gave it up to a commercial broker.
Sure.
But, so basically at the time I was working for corporate America in the Marriott Corporation.
Wow.
And I had like a supervisory position or whatever. And I found out that I wasn't the mold for corporate.
Interesting. Okay.
Everything I seem to do in my life seems to be very unorthodox, and I couldn't seem to go along with things that I didn't believe in.
Wow.
And everything was about money.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had this epiphany at 32 years old, what I want to do when I grow up. And the thing that kept coming back to me was the fact of, what do I want to do something that I like, that I really enjoy. And it took me a couple days. I prayed on it, and the answers came that it was real estate, and I loved real estate. So I got into real estate unlicensed in 1992, and I started doing some of these other commercial deals with this property that my family and I purchased. And I found myself with the knowledge and understanding of things that were going on in Los Angeles, Southern California. I was watching how the progression of the infrastructure and how things were being handled and being built and where growth patterns were and all that. Never really thought much about it at the time, but for some reason I was always watching and paying attention to how they were starting this project over here and this project here, and LA was becoming a bigger and bigger metropolis and all that. So when I got back here, when I got into real estate, I came in it fresh. I didn't come in it with a lot of money.
Right.
I came in it with a credit card, and I was trying to kind of put together a list of people that I knew, that my family knew. My father was a dentist, so his patient list and all that. So I gathered all that stuff, and I just started working from scratch. I would not recommend that to anybody.
Here we go.
Okay.
Honest advice
Would
here
not
right now.
recommend that to anybody, because in this business, it's going to take you roughly, I would say, 3 to 5 years to see your return business.
Easily.
If you're going to do that. I highly recommend to people to not get in it for the money. Do not do that. Get into it because you love it and you like it. There was somebody at, I go to Starbucks.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite places to visit during the day, maybe a few times.
Sure.
And there was a gal who, she stuck her head out the window, the lady who was serving me and one of the baristas, and she says, I think I want to get into real estate. And the first question I asked her, why? She says, because, I hear the money's really good. I said, don't get into real estate.
Okay.
Do it because you love to do it. Do it because you love people. Do it because you want to help others.
Wow.
you know, and that would be some of that.
Yeah.
I would advise people, you know, for me it was, I just like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
Well, and it
It's
comes
exciting.
across. It comes out though, Jody. I mean, you and I kind of had discussed this before we went live here, but I think that getting in it for the right reasons is crucially important.
Exactly.
And there's lots of places you can make good money. If that's your only intention, it's about the people. It's about
Right.
the impact. And with your career and what you've done and the legacy that you've laid before, I mean, your reputation is fantastic, Jody. It's impeccable.
Thank you.
And the people that know you and are watching this right now or listening to this, they understand exactly who you are and where you come from and what's happening. I think it's advisory to a lot of people that are watching to say, do it for the right reasons. I love that you said that.
Right.
I
You
really,
have
really
to.
do.
You have to. You got to be happy in whatever you do. And you know, when I tell people, if whatever it is you love to do it, but do it well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do it to the best of your ability.
This is awesome. Well, Jody, this is a great segue, in my opinion, to the next question, which is really, what's your why? So, you know, asking the barista, hey, why are you doing this? What's your why, Jody? I mean, what motivates you to do what you do to the level you do it at? Gets you out of bed in the morning, excited for real estate and your life and the impact?
Well, it's life. What motivates me is the fact that I've been given another free day. And that free day is for me to get out there and to learn and understand what my purpose is in life. And that's a constant. The other thing is the excitement of going out there to help others.
Okay.
You know, to maybe carry a message to others, to help them to get to a point or a level, whether it be in real estate or their life, so it gives them something else to think about, so they know that, you know, it isn't just this. The excitement is each and every day to grow.
Wow.
You know, I can tell you, you know, one of my things that I constantly always try to remember is to be learnable and teachable. Never think I know it all, because if I know it all, I've lost it all.
Wow.
So I just, you know, when I wake up in the morning, I do a lot of prayer and meditation.
Beautiful.
and I try to ask for guidance and direction as to, you know, what he would want to have me be today. And just to try to follow that, and for me to stay out of the way.
Okay.
My ego.
which is fantastic though, Jody, and I think that really speaks volumes as to who you are as a man and a professional, and that's why I really love that question. Some people say it's cliche and what's your why, but it gives people a deep insight into who you are.
You have to have a purpose.
Yeah.
There has to be a purpose. We all ask that question at some point, maybe not in our teens and 20s, but as we get older and mature, it's like, what truly is my purpose here? What is my purpose? It's more than just real estate.
Sure.
It's more than that.
This is great. This is awesome. We're not even to the advisory portion yet, Jody. This is great. So let's go into the next question, because this is a crowd pleaser, and people really, the viewers of the show or listeners, they really want to know what the Titans are doing or have done to grow their business. So if you could look back at your career thus far and pick or choose one or two things that you might have added to your business that took it from one level to the next, what's that look like for you?
Oh boy, I think the biggest thing is, in real estate you can get really caught up with all that goes on as far as counting the pennies and counting how many transactions and all these levels of real estate. But the biggest thing for me was that I got to a point where it's like, why am I doing this? And you know, if I'm doing it for the wrong reasons, I had to ask that question.
Okay.
The biggest thing that came to me, that was told to me, and this is on a spiritual level,
Yeah, sure.
was you are called to help others. So get out there and help and serve others, and leave the rest behind.
Okay.
You like what you do. We know you like what you do, but get out there and help people, educate people, take their hand, walk them through things, help them through the emotional, the ups and downs of this business.
Right.
You know, we're not, you know, real estate agents are, we're psychologists in some respects.
Yeah, sure.
And we have to know how to and understand how people are, where they're at that point in their life, They might be experiencing something that is really hard and difficult the day you talk to them on the phone. And we all have things going on in our lives, and to be sensitive to the fact that I always have to say, okay, if I were put in their shoes, how would I be doing with this? So being a little bit compassionate, and we're here to help and serve.
Right.
I mean, really, that's the real estate aspect of what I do is it's always about focusing on how can I help and serve others. And that came from the spiritual aspect of things. It starts on a spiritual level and it comes down into the physical level, I guess, call it. Again, what is my purpose?
Right. Going back to that core.
What is my purpose?
I think that resonates with a lot of people. I mean, that's huge advice, really focusing on the people and serving and being a little bit more aware of the need for human connection and being genuine into that, not looking at the individuals of our clients as transactions, but people just like us.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you said that. And again, that's what a lot of this show is all about. It's not just about high production and numbers and commission.
No.
That's the furthest thing from what this is about.
Yeah.
People that are on this show and showcase, they're to a higher standard. It really comes down to impact on community and doing things to a different level, just amongst the money and everything else that everybody is looking to get involved in real estate. And Jody, that was a perfect example of what we're talking about here. Truly. So again, everybody, hopefully you took notes on that. Be real, be genuine, help people out. I mean, that's what this is all about. Really, at the end of the day, there's a lot of psychology behind this. You just gotta take it in, help people grow.
Agents who feed on that notoriety and that feed on numbers and feed on awards and trophies, I would hate to think, or I would like to maybe see, but at the end of their day, how happy and how content and how satisfied they are with that. I just got to think, like, again, there's more to life than that. That's just this. But you really got to, it's an inside job where you really got to say, what am I truly doing? Am I doing the best that I'm capable of doing? So
I love it. That's huge stuff all the way across, Jody. So when it comes down to that, let's go into the tricky part of this particular episode and interview. It is the challenge question. Now, I always say this to everybody. At the end of the day, we all have issues or challenges that we deal with, whether it's in the past, now, or in the future. I don't think it's so much what happens, but how we overcome that, the lesson to learn and grow through, it really matters. So if you're comfortable, Jody, with sharing a challenge that you dealt with in your life, that you overcame, became stronger because of it.
Okay. I would say... many of us have experienced deaths. Okay, I've experienced, I lost a brother right when I got out here to Colorado. He died of AIDS.
Wow.
I lost my father 10 years later. I lost another brother several years, not too many years after. It was a brother that I donated a kidney to. And he had it for 12 years, and it basically, that was it for the kidney. And I lost my mentor, and not my mentor in real estate, my mentor in life. A gentleman who was like a brother and a father to me, and we were very close. So there were a lot of those losses per se, but what I learned through the process prior to these deaths and people leaving me or leaving the planet.
Right.
I was when I got to LA, LA was a very wide open, crazy, busy place. I was in the music industry. I had everything and anything at my disposal, and I used it. And I took advantage of it.
Right.
I was this very shy, very a kid that didn't know a whole lot, wasn't very educated, very street smart, very protected.
Sure.
I got out there, didn't have the parents around, had my siblings around, but I got into a lot of trouble.
Right. Yeah. As we all do, right?
It got to a point, and this was in my 20s, and it got to a point where, I realized something had to change.
Okay.
And I had this person come into my life, this mentor person, and he worked this program with me, and he helped me. First, he showed me, you know, he told me a lot of things, but he didn't just tell me. He walked outside of our little meetings and hookups, and I watched what this guy did. I watched how he just, you know, helped and served others, the poor. Everything was done, and he never talked about it. But he took me along with him to be able to see, and I was so impressed. I said, "Wow, you know, that's what it's all about. That's purpose.
Right.
That's what it's all about." And so through that process, I learned a way to how to deal with life, and I learned tools.
Okay.
Not that I use them all the time.
Sure.
But I learned how to go from that negative aspect and go into a positive aspect, and not look at myself as this worthless person, as I was kind of feeling in my 20s. You know, almost to a point where, why am I even walking this planet?
Unreal.
And you know, I just got these words that kind of said, you have a purpose. I have a purpose for you, and this is kind of what I'm going to want you to do. And you know, I started listening to that, you know, because I was so badly beaten down at that point. I was like 29 years old, and I just thought, you know, I can't keep living like this. I don't want to live like this. And when that shift happened for me, and when I had you know, a guideline for living to go by, and it really helped a lot, because it kept me on. Now it was taking from this physical plane of sorts to this more spiritual level. Okay, God as I understand God, which helped me, because I had a hard time with the whole God thing growing up, because of just being a kid and experiencing and seeing things and all that. But it really helped me a lot that, you know, I can choose a God of my understanding and work with that, and then have that relationship with my higher power of God. Sure. And that really helped. But then I have tools now that I utilize, and that's what helped me to transition me. That's what gave me the confidence to know that one of the things for me was I was always like trying to please people.
Okay, yeah, sure.
You know, and I see that a lot still in people, adults, a lot. And I got to a point where it's like, I don't need to please anybody here. I don't need to have them look at me or judge me. I only have to be right with my Creator, and that's all that matters at this point. Deep down in each and every one of us, you know, we have this fundamental idea of God deep down in us. But we got to find out what that purpose is and what we have with that. And I realized that the only one I gotta own up to, and I gotta be right with, is God. You know, the rest is, you know, when I leave this planet, you know, come judgment time or whatever anybody wants to call it, I just want to know that I can say, you know what, I think I did the best that I could. Now I'm not perfect. I'm a human. I'm not perfect, but that's truly what I try to do, and I try to incorporate that type of mindset into my business, into my family life, into my friends and people around me. You know.
And that to me is incredible, Jody. And first of all, thanks for sharing. It's not easy to do in front of everybody. Just to kind of, it is very personal, right?
Right.
And
it hits a core.
And I think that it shows a level of vulnerability that people can really connect with and understand. And hopefully everybody appreciates that as much as I do. I mean, you're talking about so many different facets of loss of family and mentors and everybody dealing with issues that we all have things and struggles to overcome. And I guess the moral of the story that I take away from that is no matter how much of that pain that you've felt and maybe it sometimes continue to feel, you didn't let it stop you.
No.
You just kept going.
No, it's an asset. The pain is an asset for you to help and share with people an experience, so you can share with them and say, I've been through that. I can help you. It's an experience. It's many people look at it as a negative, but in order for us to grow and be willing to grow, we have to go through the pain in order to do that.
right there. I mean, Jody, that's beautiful. If I could put that on big bold letters across this video, or you could hear that ringing through the podcast. Hopefully that hits everybody in the court. I know it does to me. Jody, thanks for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Let's go into something a little bit softer, because that's always the tricky thing. So that's another way. Phew. This is actually one of my favorite questions.
Okay.
If you could travel back in time and give your younger self a piece of advice or two, what would you say to young Jody?
Don't let any others get in the way of what you truly believe in and truly want in life. Go for whatever it is that you desire to go for. Do it well. Put the time in. I think that's it. Get out there and get a mindset that serve other people, help other people. Smile and say hi to people more often. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean,
Sure.
so many things in my life I missed because I was so caught up in my own head and
Right.
thinking. And just that person that crosses your path in a day, pay attention to what that purpose is, why that person crossed your path. There's more to it than a hi and a bye. There's something about that. There's, there is no coincidence in life as to why we come across or come up on things. We might be thinking of something,
Sure.
and all of a sudden we walk into a situation and they're talking about the same thing we're thinking about. But it's just about this interaction, interaction with people, we're here. I think that's one of our biggest purposes, is we're here to interact with people.
Wow.
And I think the internet and all that stuff has kind of separated people from truly like this
Doing this.
conversation.
Yeah.
Getting to really know somebody, because body language, how people react and how people speak, that's huge. That speaks words, and so from a younger standpoint, it's just for me to just to say that don't measure your self-worth and your value by an opinion of others. Keep it on a level of you and who made you.
Wow.
And go with that, whatever it is.
I
think all of us have, I'm in real estate.
Sure.
And you're doing what you do, okay, which
Yeah.
is huge and great.
Thanks,
I want to say
Jody.
thank you, and I
Yeah,
think that's
appreciate it.
awesome what you're doing. We all have a purpose, and this may not be the end of it for us, okay? This is just maybe the stepping stone that connects us with another person that's going to take us to another level, so
Right.
level of life.
Which I love that aspect, and I think to me that's not good advice just for young Jody, but everybody who's watching and listening, myself included. And why I break that down is looking at it from the standpoint of smiling and interacting and engaging with people. You
Yeah.
don't know what impact just a smile's going to do.
What it's
They
gonna
could
do.
have had the worst day of their life.
Yes.
And a nice gesture, a kind compliment, an engagement, interaction—that's the human condition.
Doesn't that like for me, when I see somebody smile at me and I'm like really like all in here,
zoned out.
yeah, and I'm like, they smile, I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yes. I mean,
it really just kind of lightens it all, and it's like, don't take life so seriously. Even though we do, try not to.
This is huge. This is
This
good
is out
stuff.
of lessons learned. I got to tell you that through lessons of life. I mean, that's it. None of this was like boom, it just came. It was just like, okay, you learn this as you go along.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the
Try to learn early.
the idea of listening to this man, I think is important, Jody, and that's what's so great about that particular question. That I really like that, because we can all apply these principles to our lives now. We're listening to this and watching this now. We can do that, and if something strikes a chord or resonates with you, don't wait for it. Just take action. Life's too short. Just kind of go for that, and I really that was huge advice. So let's go into another question, which is actually a big crowd pleaser into this particular series, because a lot of the professionals, whether they're new or seasoned, that are watching this, they want to know what the Titans are feeding their minds, how they're growing that way, because it's, as you said earlier, constantly learning and not knowing all of it. So,
right.
Books you're reading or have read, podcasts you're listening to, influencers on social media, how are you feeding your mind, Jody?
Okay. So this person doesn't have a lot of time to read a book.
Right.
Okay? And if I read a book, I tend to fall asleep
Okay.
as I'm reading it, and I do not comprehend that. I know people, friends of mine, they run businesses, they have businesses, and then they say, hey, I read this book.
Mhm.
When did you have time to read it? Like what, 2 in the morning or something?
Oh yeah.
Mine is, I'm in my car a lot. That's like
Mhm.
my office.
Sure.
And they always tell you in real estate, if you're at your office too long, you're not doing real estate. You're
Well
not
said.
working. Okay,
Yep.
you got to get out.
Mhm.
You got to get out amongst the people. Again,
Sure.
it's people business. But in my car, I would do audiobooks,
Okay.
things of that nature.
Great.
Podcasts. I don't do a lot of podcasts. I'm not the internet, the
Yes.
computer kind of person.
Sure, sure.
My era didn't grow up with that, so it's
Right.
a freaking learning process.
This is great.
And it's a challenge
Sure.
where everything comes to them like
Sure.
printing and writing and
Like
reading,
breathing, yeah.
breathing, yeah. And it's like, so that's all a challenge for me. You talk about challenges.
There you
This
go.
is one. But I try to do the podcast for educational purposes. I try to do the podcast, and when I say educational, I'm talking about not only real estate, but how to spiritually grow.
Okay, love it.
Okay?
Mhm.
Not how to make money
Mhm.
and how to do all that stuff.
Sure.
To me, anybody can make money if they apply themselves to what they're doing and they do it well and they work hard at it.
That's the
Period.
truth.
Period.
Yeah.
You're only going to be as good as how much you put into it.
Mhm.
I heard that early on from some really good quality real estate agents and brokers in the business. So
Wow.
I took that advice.
Hmm.
As far, for me, it's my learning, my education, my understanding is, I think the best is being around people, getting out there.
Mhm.
And learning truly what life is all about. You can learn a lot of things in books and podcasts and on the internet. Internet has every bit of
Right.
information, but it's that interaction with people to learn and how to do things. But on levels of how to maybe overcome situations and things like that, I find that when I interact with people and I can humble myself to say, I'm struggling with this. How do you handle this? How have you handled this? You've had experience in this.
Wow.
And when people can share their experience, strength, and hope with you, you can then turn around and share that with somebody else.
Hmm.
So I'm not a brainiac when it comes to reading and
Sure.
podcasts. I use it for the purposes, and I try to, take advantage of that. Say, like, if I'm, for what I do, I try to take a 3 to 4 day break from the business
Right.
as best possible.
Mhm.
It's hard to do
Not always
with
easy.
iWatches and
Yeah.
iPads and iPhones and all that stuff. But I try to just take these drives, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, outside of the area here,
Love it.
and I try to get back to a place where I can get a little peace and serenity and get recharged.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so I can come back into this with a good head on my shoulders and know what is my purpose again.
Right.
Because we start losing sight of that.
When I agree with that. When you dive in deep and
Yeah.
you're so focused that you can
Everything-
sometimes lose,
Right.
the whole control. I mean, everything that you mentioned to that, everybody out there knows that everybody's learning differently, and whether it is books, podcasts, influencers, the whole nine. I love the fact that you had mentioned just really getting down to the human condition, to get in
Right.
front of people, learn from other people who have, made mistakes, and having real, genuine conversations. Yeah, you're right. You can learn so many different things on YouTube and the internet and everything along those lines, but I'm telling you, and as you know, and a lot of people that are watching or listening, nothing is going to beat one-on-one conversation, deep, not
Right.
how's the weather, how are the sport teams doing. It's real life, and there's so much to be learned from that. And as you said earlier, it's a people business.
Yeah.
So what
You
more can you learn?
can't be behind a screen of a computer and be behind texts. Talking on the phone is a little bit better of an interaction, but
Correct.
face to face with people. I mean, my God, we're human. We gotta connect.
Sure.
How do we connect?
just like this, everybody. This is what it's all about. I mean, Jody, that's super, super good. And just so everybody knows, as always, I'll have a few quotes and things and data in the comments below so that you can kind of follow along with what Jody's, feeling and going and growing through. So I think that's really important. Jody, this has been a phenomenal episode full of so much compelling, genuine information. I know that there's tons and tons of takeaways in here. I want to wrap everything up with a final question. It ends up being...
Is it the big question?
It is. It's the
big Q?
It is the big Q, the big question. And I think this tells a lot, but if you could sum up yourself as a man, as a professional, with a quote or a mantra that you live by, what's that look like for Jody Heffner?
Okay, for me, it's more than one quote.
Hit me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I would say the first one is treat others as you want to be treated. Okay, that's a huge one, and that one kind of, I don't remember where I got that from, but I had seen it somewhere. It may have been at my mom's house in her kitchen on a piece of paper taped to her cupboard or something.
Interesting.
Like that.
Okay.
That's where I remember seeing it.
Okay.
But it's treat others as you want to be treated. Never could understand what that meant until I got a little older. The other one is, if you fail to plan, plan to fail, but don't plan the outcome.
Wow.
Okay, don't plan the outcome.
I love that.
The outcome may not be to your liking, but it is the outcome that life has presented you, and be okay with that. Okay, and the other big one for me is trust God, clean house, not your household, but your temple, yourself. Clear away that wreckage or whatever you got going on in there. Trust God, clean house, and help others.
Wow.
Big one.
Jody, all three of those are absolutely amazing, and it really does speak volumes to you and your character and your spirituality and what you do in this marketplace and have done continue. So everybody, I'm just blown away by this one, and truly, Jody, I'm so excited that you were on here. You're an official real estate titan, my friend.
I appreciate it.
This is awesome stuff.
Ooh, a titan. I don't know what that means.
It's amazing.
It's
You're the
word.
perfect picture of it. The top notch of top notch, and not just production, but really doing what it says it does. And I think that's important for everybody to know. And thanks again so much for everybody for your time and attention, your love and support. As always, if you like what we're doing here with Real Estate Titans and you want to see more of what we're doing, give us a like on our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel or our iTunes account going into that if you're more into the audio format. Live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, a different Titan, a different location. We'll catch everybody on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
Bye-bye.
And we are almost